The UCF Knights, the do him offense boys, as I like to address them, get the victory in the first round of the Big 12 tournament, 87-72 over the Utah Utes. And also, this marks the first victory for Subi in predictions over me. I hitched my wagon to the Utes and Gabe Madsen and the boys, and it went sideways for me as the UCF Knights were able to pull off the victory in this one. They shoot 41% from three in this game. They were basically making everything at the rim as well. A pretty prolific offensive performance for UCF in this game as they almost touched the 90-point mark. Subi, I'll throw it to you first. What were your initial thoughts on this game?
Man, this game was just a contrast in offenses early on, man. Utah in the first half was just dominating the paint.
Mhm.
And that goes for scoring, that goes for the glass as well. They were doing an incredible job rebounding the basketball, but Cart, they could not hit a three, dude. Like they could not hit a 3-point shot if their life depended on it early on. And actually, that ended up coming to fruition for the rest of the game, right? So I think that was the biggest thing for me was the 3-point disparity and just how poor Utah was. What did you take away?
Yeah, a pretty abysmal offensive performance from Utah in this basketball game. I mean, 4 of 26 from three. That's a whopping 15%. I did 15%. They only shoot 60% from the free throw line. Not much better inside the arc as well. You need to have, and I'm gonna take this from. I was watching the WCC championship game, and it was like a rock fight, defensive battle, da da da, this, that, and the third, right? In the tournament, and more specifically the NCAA tournament, but this applies to all tournaments as well. Defense is great. Defense wins championships. We all know that phrase. It's great at the end of the day. You want to know one of my favorite phrases, though? You can't win basketball games unless you put the orange thing into the 10-foot thing, because that's what puts points on the board. And Utah in this game found themselves, trying to have an offense off basically against a better offensive team in UCF. And this is how the game ended. Honestly, when you look through the numbers in this one, and it was a pretty ugly offensive performance as you watch it, but as you go back and look at the box score once you as and kind of equate it to what you were watching, uh, UCF wins this game by 15 points. They kind of played with their food. This could have been like a 25-20, like 8-point victory, I think, if UCF kind of kept their foot on the gas, because Utah could not do anything inside the paint. It looked like they were shook on most of their layups, and I do want to give credit to the 7-foot freshman Mustafa Tim. His length seemed to bother everybody in this basketball game. He had 3 blocks. I would bet if they had like an altered shot kind of a stat line associated with that, he'd have like 15 total, because he had every Utah player, big, whoever it was, shooting down low. They had them thinking twice when he was down there. What did you see from UCF in this basketball game that maybe impressed you or surprised you, maybe?
Super happy you brought up Chom. Folks, use this if you're listening, use this as a foreshadowing device, I suppose, or mechanism for the next couple of years. He's going to be a stud and he's going to be a serious, serious problem. He's only a freshman, guys, and he's so raw.
A
Once
reclass freshman too.
Yeah, once he gets polished, I mean, he's got a pretty decent mid-range game. You talked about his defensive efforts as well. He's going to be a force. I'm pretty confident in saying that. And yeah, like I mentioned in the preview that Lawson Lovering doesn't necessarily have a lot of touch,
Yeah.
but it didn't help Lawson that he was going up against Chom as well. So I saw that. Obviously, I think Keyshawn Hall, your boy, he played pretty well also. But just from a collective effort for UCF, this game reminded me a little bit of the not the TCU game. Yeah, no, it was the TCU game.
Hmm.
Who did TCU play? TCU play.
Colorado.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So TCU somehow had the lead going into halftime, right?
Mhm.
Utah had the lead by 1 going into halftime. And then an absolute avalanche occurred in the second half. Like I don't know what was said by Johnny Dawkins, but he got his team going and they started out hot. They ended up winning that second half by 16 points. Like that, the entire game was decided in those first couple of minutes where they just completely boat raced Utah. And so sometimes like that's what happens. You pour so much emotionally into the first half that you almost forget the importance of the beginning of the second half, and then you're playing from behind against a potent offensive squad like the Knights. I think just a few other things that I'll mention, or the last thing really for Utah was Keanu Dawes. He's a dog, man. His motor is
Great,
something to marvel at.
great.
Like it doesn't Utah has not had a good season by any stretch of the imagination, but I promise you, every single possession that I've seen him, they could be in the game, they could be out of the game. He is attacking the rim, he is engaged, he is bringing forth 100% effort. That is a guy that Alex Jensen needs to 100% retain and maybe make a cornerstone of this team moving forward.
Yeah, I hate where my mind goes when I see players like him because obviously I think other coaches notice that too. I mean, in the now I didn't get to watch all the Utah games. I'm an East Coast guy, so sometimes those Utah games are coming on at like 11:30. Got a newborn as well, so I'm fighting for life over here sometimes, folks. But every time I watch Utah, when he got in the game, I found myself asking like, does this dude need to play more? Because like you see what he does, and you go to like that. Like this guy is someone who, obviously he plays a lot of minutes in this game, and he spits out a 21 and 15 game, which is just I thought he was all over the place. But you know, on the season, a guy that averages just under 18 minutes a game, but in just under 18 minutes, he gives you 8.6 rebounds and he has the ability to hit a three if you need to. Solid from the free throw line. I really like him. I hate in the portal era when I see where he's from. I see that he's from Houston, Texas. I mean, come on, man. You put him in you put him on Houston. You telling me Kelvin Sampson wouldn't love this dude?
I mean, it doesn't help that he's playing in the same conference, right? Like Kelvin Sampson, 100%. I guarantee you he's on that radar
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
jersey swap wouldn't even be that hard. They're both red. They would just kind of figure out a way. You know what? Actually, I know we're a pro tampering program, but I don't want to tamper first off game here. Let me get back to this game real quick. I did like what I saw from UCF in this game. I thought they were very aggressive. They were able to get to the free throw line. They were able to assert themselves down low. And like I said, I think that they were able to use their physical tools and their physical gifts in this game. And I just think that Utah wasn't able to do enough offensively in this game. I mean, you got to make shots to win games like this, and they weren't able to get it. I mean, a guy I like who's been a little bit underwhelming this year, Miro Little, he fouls out in 12 minutes in this basketball game. Lovering had a pretty good first half. He struggled in the second half big time. And they really just didn't get anything else. Like Gabe Madsen is kind of like a player this year who's been either he looks like Jack Golke against Kentucky last year,
Yep.
or he looks like Jack Golke versus Michigan State last year, where he was like 12 from three. It's like one or the other. And in a game where they needed him to basically be this in fuego shooter, he just was not. And Utah comes up short. Obviously, they bring in Alex Jensen. We'll see what happens with that. The whole NBA assistant to college basketball head coach seems to be very popular right now. But it also is Utah, like at the same time. So we got to see what kind of where that's going to go. But I'll throw it over to you for some closing thoughts on this game.
Yeah, it is a lot more popular, and you could almost make a case that Kevin Young over at the other school in Utah is kind of being a trailblazer here. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Gabe Madsen. Kind of I don't know how many more years of eligibility he has,
He's
but
got to be done.
I would think so too. But just kind of an unceremonious end towards the end of his career. He didn't shoot the ball well whatsoever in this game. Mikey Sharov jams. All right. Let me give you a little quick story.
Mongolian Mike?
Mongolian Mike. I've never been sold a faker bill of goods. I saw him live in Dayton a couple years ago when they opened the season against Longwood. And look, I get super carried away. I really do. But I was watching him and I was like, this dude reminds me of Kevin Durant. Like he reminds like
Well,
obviously he's
the thing is, you weren't the only one, man. There were some folks like talking about drafting this guy in the first round of the NBA draft, like, and we're serious about it.
dude, he's long, athletic. His jump shot looks decent, right? But I mean, this is going to be his third season with as many teams, right? He started at Dayton, went to San Francisco, Utah. I don't know where if he's going to be with Utah next year or not, but I was, man, I had so much faith in that dude.
Yeah, and an all time great nickname to a Mongolian Mike.
Oh yeah,
It's hard not to love that dude. He's got the physical tools. He was part of the 3 point deficiency in this basketball game is he went 0 of 6 from three.
Damn.
One of the many, let's see, he was one of one, two, three, four guys who went over from the 3-point line in this basketball game. Just a really tough offensive showing. But credit to UCF for doing what they do, and they get in this environment where, like I like to call it, they can do the do him offense. It's special when they're hitting shots. So UCF will advance to take on. Let's not ruin it. They will advance to take on Kansas in the next game. We will have the preview of that game. They had a really good game earlier this year against Fog Island that I talked about in the preview. So looking forward to previewing that game. We will have all the previews and recaps of all the Big 12 tournament games over here on Sleepers Media YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tap in for all your Big 12 tournament needs.